Hi, dear LinkedIn and dear associates and dear business partners and all the industries and education management. This is Azeem from Vikpar Consultancy Services, and today's video is about the destruction of the COVID-19 that it has made in educational industry. Because when I'm talking to you, there has been a great calamity, there has been a great destruction just because of the COVID-19 in education industry. So when you talk about the COVID-19, where it has really affected all the communities, no community really has been suffering more than educational sector, international education sector. As you can understand, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking from the core of my heart, because it hurts me that the industry I'm attached to, I'm associated to, of course, that is suffering a lot. Yeah, there is a fact that the COVID-19 is prevailed and taken over the education industry. All the flying associations and all the airplanes and all the biggest sort of airlines, they are on ground, and they are not flying in the sky. And the sky that is completely empty, and the space can be seen and the sky can be seen very clearly. Oh yes, COVID, that has been a great sort of source of the destruction of the international education. But along with the COVID, there are some other factors, what I believe they are taking place right now, in the likes of the President Trump, statement about the restrictions of the Chinese students. And along with that, on the 22nd of June, he just made a statement that he wants to stop the temporary worker, from entering in USA, United States. So United States has been a great market over the years, and nobody can deny the quality and the standards of the education that the United States is providing over the years to the community of the world. But I think that this is not the proper time to make statements. We see that the Morrison, the PM of Australia, he's taken the Chinese, on the borders. And of course, there was a diplomatic statement that we can't get the Chinese inside our borders in the pandemic, So as a result, you see, as a confliction, the Chinese diplomats, the Chinese government, they stopped their students, and they have restricted their students, from traveling to Australia. And it is going to be the biggest or gigantic loss for the Australian education industry, I would say. And along with that, it is going to be a great loss for the US industry. Because I'm going to present you the statistics, because the industry I belong, you belong, the industry that I'm talking to you right now about, that valued 65.4 billion USDs, 65.4 billion USDs in 2019. And this value that was supposed to go up to, 118 billion USDs, 118 billion USDs up to 2027. So, I don't know where to go now. I don't know what's going to happen, because you see that in June, July, August or September, so there is a drastic downfall or the drop of the international community from traveling from one country to another country. You talk about Australia, you talk about USA, you talk about Canada, you talk about UK, you talk about France, you talk about Germany, you talk about the Russian Federation. They all have been the top participants, of the international community. And you see that in 2017, UNESCO gives this figure, and this is the greatest statistics. In 2017, 5.2 million students. Let me repeat that, 5.2 million students, they traveled in the different countries. And half of the 5.2 million, like you can say 2.6 million students, they traveled to these 6 countries: UK, Australia, USA, Germany, France, and Russian Federation. 6 countries, they received about 2.6 million students out of 5.2. And this is the statistics, this is the number of the 2017. So when it comes to 2000, like 1999 and 2000, in 1999 and 2000, there were only, 2 million students only. I mean, they used to travel, and actually they traveled around the world. But there is a significant increase in our industry where the students have been moving abroad for the international education, and they are receiving the greatest sort of education from the different parts of the world. And especially these 6 countries have been the most focused countries from the student community. And you see that in 2000, only 2 million people, I mean, they were on mobility, and they moved to the different parts of the world. And in 19 years, there has been a dramatic increase in the number of the students moved abroad, and that becomes about 5.2 until 2017. I believe that in 2020 this figure was increasing even more. But unfortunately, the COVID hit, and of course, there is a great downfall and the drop of the business over there. And you can understand, as I'm worried right now, I mean, you guys are worried, but there is an alternative that the universities and all the governments, they have been presenting, to the recruiters and the students and all over the world, and that is online system. But I personally don't believe this system is going to be as effective as a one-on-one system. But at least this is an alternative, of course, and this is really a great source of the engagement with the clients and keeping the students alive, and of course, I mean, introducing your product to the students. Well, let me tell you one thing here, that this 65.4 billion USD's industry, that is in a great trouble. And we are putting this industry even into the greatest trouble by having such statements from the politicians, because politics has nothing to do with the knowledge and international education sector. Knowledge is common. This is a right of everybody to move for getting knowledge. This is a right of everybody to move. And there is no value of the borders for getting the knowledge. That's what I believe. My experience says that the border shouldn't be in between of the quality education and the students. So that's why I believe that the Morrison has really played a shot, and that was against his economy, the Australian's economy. And similarly, when you talk about the Donald Trump, it's just made a ridiculous statement about the Chinese, because the Chinese, they participate 11 billion USDs in international education market of USA. 11 billion USDs, remember, there is a big participation in the sharing of the Chinese. But when you're putting them aside, when you're keeping them aside, of course, they are going to affect your industry. So I believe that you understand my points, and I believe that you're going to give your comments on my viewpoint, that this is not the right time to make the political and the diplomatic statements that can affect the international education industry, whether it's from the South Asia, it's from Europe. This is the time of harmony, and we need to show the harmony. And who can show the harmony? Educationists, not the politics. Thank you very much, Ali Azeem.